Hi, I'm Sarah from Heirloom Creations, and our ruler of the month is the Hex N More Ruler by Jaybird Quilts. We have a variety of their patterns, and they are fun to make. This ruler will actually cut 4 different shapes, all within one ruler. Awesome! Hexagons, half hexagons, 60-degree triangles, and a jewel shape. Jewel shape that will be featured in this quilt. This quilt is called Lotus. It's one of their patterns, and we have kits in the store. Another thing that we've had fun with is the quilt that's right behind me called Toes in the Sand. This would be a great block of the month. It would also be a great guild challenge because you get to use this ruler to its fullest. Every single cut is done with this one ruler. And you find yourself looking at this and go, you know, there's a lot of similarity, but they're all different. There's actually only 12 different blocks in this quilt, but they each have a pair. And with that, each one, though, has a different colorway. So that's why you can't really tell which ones are actually similar to each other. But at the end of this video, we are going to feature how we have figured out with this ruler how to cut the 6-inch hexagons that you can buy pre-cut right now in stores. But now you can do it with this ruler and match them up yourself for future projects. Now, before I get started with any brand new ruler, I always use the true grips, put them on the back, and then that way things don't slip around. We also have a variety of other patterns by this company that we'll show you next. Whether you fell in love with Toes in the Sand like we did, or one of the many other patterns that is available from Jaybird Quilts, there are so many. This one here, Tasty Table Runner. That's using the half hex pieces that we'll show you how to cut. The Science Fair, which we've had on display in our store, and we do have kits with these. The brand new one, we just saw this online coming from Jaybird Quilts, Snack Time. We'll have that pattern in the store shortly. Candy Dish, using the hexagons in 60-degree triangles. Lotus, boy, did this one go together fast or what? Nice big pictures. We also have this as a kit in our store. Come in and see those. Wonton, using the jewel shapes, you can see those with the other pieces that pull that together. But you can take any pattern from any company that is featuring the hexagons and really make it any size you want. Because the ruler has multiple sizes, whether you want it bigger, smaller, or any size in between, you have so many capabilities as we go along here. As we start with one of the simplest cuts of the 4 shapes you can cut, we're going to work with the 60-degree triangle. As the ruler states, it will show you what size of strip you'll need to cut to work with each of the lines. So this strip has been cut 3.5 inches, and we'll be working along the edge as we cut from one side to the other and then back and forth. Just line up that edge as you go, getting this little nub to give you that nice little extra point, and then go ahead and work your way across your strips. Now, as you can see, these are some of the strips left over from Toes in the Sand, and they'll have you sometimes put strips together to equal that 3.5-inch size. And then as you cut your 60-degree triangles from this one, you're going to get some great combinations as they combine these with the other shapes this ruler is going to cut. To cut the half hexagons, we're going to start with a 3.5-inch strip and use it along the 6.5 half hexagon lines on the ruler. We're going to start over here on the right-hand side. Go ahead and slice. And then we're going to flip the fabric over. You're going to be looking at the back side of your fabric. Line up the ruler. Those solid lines will come right in there with the little notch you cut. And then go ahead and do it again. We're going to be flipping this fabric back and forth multiple times here. And so when we come back, we kind of have a couple little notches to get cut out here. We can get that little fabric realigned nicely. I have a little extra cut in there, so I'm going to just give myself a little room. There we go. And then flip it back around for cut number 2. Easy as that. I love how easy these lines are to see as I look through it and get it to the perfect set every single time. Hexagons are going to be measured also by the width of the strip. So this strip is 4.5 inches wide. So this hexagon is going to finish 4 inches tall. So that's short edge to short edge here. That's how they're going to measure. Some places measure hexagons a little differently, so you always want to just double check. Of course, you can always adapt your pattern based on the finished size that you're after. So we're first lining up the edges that are solid, marked with the 4.5-inch hexagon, and then go ahead and start by cutting side number 1. Then rotate your fabric 180 degrees. Line up your dark lines once again. And cut your second side. I like to flip it back again. Again, being that this is a batik fabric, I can kind of work from both sides here. Line up your solid lines. Now, if you made that little extra push with the rotary cutter, it's not a problem because you're going to actually be right in line with your next cut. So that angle's not going to be a problem if you kind of go a little further. So you'll watch that again. We line that up. This is the part I'm referring to. As I cut past that little corner, that will not interrupt cutting your next hexagon along that strip. Now for a fun shape to cut called a jewel. So we're going to follow the 6.5 jewel line that's going to come right on across our ruler. This is a 6.5-inch wide strip. We'll start by going ahead, just like the hexagon, cutting that first side. And then I like to actually flip this over and then keeping my ruler kind of the same direction every time I'm looking at it. We'll line up that top edge here, and it will make this small little point down here at the bottom. And then go ahead and cut your next size. Now, being that this is kind of an odd shape, when you go to cut the next one, this shape is going to come down and kind of anchor into that previous cut. So if you try not to cut too much into that, that's good. But then that next one can come right in there, and then we'll cut again. So you might go ahead and flip it over. Line up your ruler for the next jewel cut. I love those little dots. They definitely make the ruler not want to slide around until you want to move it. And here you can get a nice clean cut, flip it over, and cut the next one. So you kind of be rotating this piece of fabric quite a bit as you're working with it. So I like to cut my jewels as a single layer. Then that way nobody's going to get moved apart, and all those edges are going to be just perfect. Now see, all you need to do is add a 60-degree triangle in here, and then you have a perfect triangle to work with any of your other patterns. In the world of hexagons, there is all sorts of ways to measure them. For example, we have been working with, say, 4.5-inch strips, cutting strips, and then they measure finished 4 inches tall from top to bottom. Well, now with the popularity of hexagons and the pre-cuts you can get that are 6 inches, they're actually measured from point to point, 6 inches across the widest place of the hexagon. So we're playing with this Hex N More ruler, combined with a couple other ways to cut hexagons and techniques. We discovered that if you take a strip that is cut 5 1/4 inch wide, fold it in half. Are you ready for this? Now you do have to find the line that is the dark line at 6.5 on the Hex N More ruler. Line it up with the fold and go ahead and cut your hexagon out of here. Ready for the magic? Now there's not a line that you're going to really measure up here with. That's just going to go ahead and be where it is, kind of between a couple lines. When we open this up and we measure from point to point, you are 6 inches wide. Ta-da!